This past weekend, I was at PAX East. PAX East is a big convention where lots of different game developers go to show off their upcoming games, and I got to go and play a lot of them. This whole entire week is going to be basically covering all the games I got to try out at PAX East. So let me run through the schedule of how videos are going to work this week. Today's video is going to be all about the horror games I got to play, because there were quite a few spooky horror games that I got to play. Tomorrow's video is going to be all about the fun games I got to play, because there were quite a few upbeat fun games that I got to play. I'm going to skip a video on Thursday, but on Friday, I will upload a video all about Rugrats Adventures in Gameland, because it seems like quite a few of you in my audience are excited for that game. So I definitely want to talk about it a little more in depth than some of the other games I want to talk about. So, like I mentioned, today's video is going to be all about all the scary games that I got to play. Some of these I got appointments for, so I got to talk a little bit with the developers, a little more in depth than some of these other games. But also some of them I just went up and played just by myself. So, without any further ado, let's get into the games. Now, this first game didn't seem to have a playable demo that I could go and actually play, but I did talk to the one and only developer for this game, and that game is called Dark and Deep. Now, Dark and Deep is a first-person survival horror game, and it's a little more narrative-driven. You play as a character, I believe his name is Sam, I could be a little wrong on that, but all I know is that he is equipped with these picture frames that allow you to basically see into other realms. You see, monsters, but you can only see them through these frames. And you have to collect these frames and use them to not only defeat the monsters that are in this game, but you also use these frames to solve environmental puzzles and all that jazz. Now, this game is being developed by a singular person, a one-man development team. So I'm keeping that in mind when looking at this game, because for one person, it looks really freaking good. It looks like it's a really unique style. It actually, the developer told me that he used inspiration from old books. I think he said like old Bibles and old photographs. He scanned those photos into his computer and used those as framework for the art in this game, and I absolutely love the artistic direction of the game. It looks super unique. It looks super fresh. The game he compared to this game, to give it a little more of a, foundation of an understanding, is Fatal Frame, where like in Fatal Frame you have to use the camera to defeat the monsters. In this game, it's the photo camera. That's what you use to defeat the monsters. And, it looks super cool. I'm super excited to play it whenever it comes out. It's available on Steam to wishlist. It does say here that it is coming out August of this year. So it is coming in a few months. If this is a game that interests you, there will be a link in the description for the Steam wishlist page, as well as for the rest of the games in this video. Alright, the next game, and this one I actually did get to try, and I had an appointment with the developers for this one. This one is called Forest Hills: The Last Year. Now, this game actually originally was released on Steam as The Last Year, but has been since acquired by a different studio and has been completely rebuilt. So the original game originally took place in a school. Now it takes place in the whole entire town of Forest Hills, and you get to explore really cool settings. The one I got to explore in my playthrough of the game was the cemetery and the catacombs. Here, your objective is simple. You are on a team with 5 people total, so 4 other people, and then yourself. And you are all faced up against a killer, which can be anything from a giant spider to a floating, mage or whatever he was called. There's a bunch of different baddies for you to fight up against, and the objective is simple. It's kind of like Dead by Daylight, where your objective is for you all to escape, but it's a little more in-depth than just starting generators. In this, you actually have different objectives to complete. In the cemetery objective, it was to look for certain artifacts, like statues and busts, putting them together and then surviving an onslaught of enemies. And what makes this game a little bit different from other asymmetrical horror games is that you also have a class system. You could choose from assault class to a technician class, or you could be like me and choose the medic class. The medic class, which like I said is the class that I primarily played in my playthrough, basically your job is to help your teammates and be support. Whenever your teammates are running low on health, you go up and you heal them, bringing them back to full health. It took me a bit of getting used to playing this game because I actually played with keyboard and mouse, which is usually not how I play games, but even for someone like me who's not used to keyboard and mouse controls, it is something that I was able to grasp very, very quickly. And of course, I'm assuming there's going to be controller support added in the future. Again, you'll be able to see more detailed information on the Steam page down below. And I actually did get to nab one of the developers for a couple minutes to ask him about this game a little bit. So I'm going to share some of the important details from this game that he has said to me. So enjoy. Hello, so I am currently here at the Forest Hills The Last Year booth. And can I get your name and who you are to the company?
Yeah, my name is Miles. I am the technical director.
Perfect. Now, how long have you guys been working on this game now?
So Undaunted Games has been working on this since around October. I was on like a couple months earlier just to start off with pre-production, which was converting the game from Unreal Engine 4.21 all the way up to 5.2. So I spent a month prior to October, maybe 2 months prior to October to get it to that state. And that's when we started recruiting for our team and creating like our full dev team. And we've been working on it since then altogether. So this is an asymmetrical horror game, so it's a 5v1. The objective of the game is essentially to escape the nightmare that you're in. You've been essentially placed into this shard of reality called the nightmare, and you are being chased by a killer. The killers that we have right now are like the Giant, the Warlock, which is our newest killer that we've added. We have the Dryad coming up, and then we have the Slasher, the Strangler, and the Spider. So some of those are from the original game that released back in 2017, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. But the Warlock and the Dryad are actually new characters that we've created, and we're really excited to be working on the game right now.
Cool. And is there like an expected date or like, when this, might come out? If not,
Yes. So we are aiming to release later in June for early access. And then our release schedule is we're going to be pretty transparent about release schedule, any sort of updates that are coming during early access, and then full release later on.
Perfect. Well, definitely check out the game when it comes out. I had a lot of fun, and thank you for having me, and thank you for doing the interview.
Thank you very much for playing.
Of course. So yeah, this game looks really, really promising. It's still kind of in earlier stages, so stay tuned for more information as this game, is coming up. But it looks really cool, and it was really fun to play, and I want to thank the studio for letting me come out and, go to your booth and try it out and get to talk to you. So again, thank you so much. Next up is probably one of my favorite games that I've played in this whole entire showcase. Now, this was another one that I got to book an appointment for. This one was a little more private though. I wasn't allowed to record my gameplay, so keep that in mind. I wasn't able to capture gameplay of this one, but they at least did give me a press kit so that I could show you guys the gameplay trailer and give you a little more information on this one. This one is called Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days. Now, funny enough, this game is actually a sequel to an old mobile game. Actually, I think it might be a threequel to an old mobile game that came out years and years ago, but they've completely changed the formula from what that original game was. Because that original game was mostly suited for mobile. This game is going to be on PC and console. Now, this game is basically a really inspired game from This War of Mine. For those of you who don't know, This War of Mine is a game where you're a group of survivors and you're trying to survive an apocalypse by going out to scavenge during the night and bringing supplies home, to use during the day. This game is the exact same, at least from what I can tell, but with some really big differences. Now, I will say that I only got to play the scavenging portion. I didn't get to do any of the survival bits, the daytime survival bits, but I did do the nighttime survival bits. And in that section, basically you're going into a level, which for me was an old house as well as a police precinct, and you're looking for supplies. You're scavenging through things and looking for supplies. So I do want to emphasize what makes this different from This War of Mine, because the game is very similar. It is very, very similar to this War of Mine, so I do want to highlight the differences in this one. Firstly, the visual style is completely different, and I actually do prefer this visual style. Firstly, the camera is much closer to the action. It feels like you have a little more control of your character. I really do like that, and it is really cool to see the artwork, and I do think visually it is a very appealing game. Secondly, unlike this War of Mine, where that game is about war, this game is about a zombie apocalypse, so you have a little more to worry about here. There are zombies in every single location that you visit, so you have to sneak around a little more carefully and, look into every single room you go into. It's very engaging, and, being me, I wanted to explore the whole entire location before I left, and I was, really trying to be careful and sneaking around, and it really was good. If there was anything I could say in terms of things I would like to see improved, and again, this game is very early. This game isn't coming out until next year, I'm pretty certain, so we got a little while to wait for that one. But I do think the one thing I want to see done up a bit more is the sound design. The sound design, at least in the demo that I played, there wasn't really much in the way of background music. It was mostly the ambience and, the zombies growling, and it's just great. I love the ambience and the spookiness, and it does add a lot. But I do think having a little bit of maybe like string instruments in the background, or just a subtle, very subtle soundtrack to accompany whenever you're scavenging, would really add a little bit more of a little bit of flavor to the scavenging scenes. But other than that, I really did enjoy my time with it. Now, funny enough, the person I was talking to, from the studio, I was actually sat down next to someone. They were playing. They got there a little bit before me, so I came in, sat down next to this person, and that person just happened to be from IGN. Obviously very big studio, so it felt kind of weird and surreal to be playing next to someone from IGN, who I'm assuming are also doing their own impressions video of this game. But after I finished my demo, because that guy had finished his before mine, one of the developers came up to me and said that I did much better than the IGN person because I died less. I died one time as opposed to the IGN person who died twice. And they liked that I was a little more talkative and interactive with them rather than the IGN guy who just walked out. So I just kind of wanted to plug that in there to brag that ZakPak is better at survival horror games than the person they sent from IGN. So IGN, suck it. Alright, the last game I wanted to touch on today is probably the main reason a lot of you guys are here, and that is Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Now, this game is a freaking wild ride. I only got to demo the game once because that freaking game, it was insane, and, they had accepted me to do something as media for it, but then they had to cancel my appointment, so then I had to go back to them, and it was a whole situation, but I did get to play it, and guys, it's a really solid one. For those of you who do not know, this is an asymmetrical horror game that takes place within the Killer Klowns from Outer Space universe. Each clown has different abilities that can be used upon you, and you, as survivors, have to survive it and escape. I honestly really don't know what more to say about this one. It was a really fun time, and even though asymmetrical horror games aren't really my cup of tea, even though I did play a little bit of Dead by Daylight, if this is one that tickles your fancy, if you liked games specifically Friday the 13th, when that came out, I believe there was another one based on a different horror franchise, but Friday the 13th specifically, if you liked that one, it gives off a lot of that same energy just put into the Killer Klowns from Outer Space universe. Now, honestly, I never watched that movie. I'm not familiar with Killer Klowns from Outer Space. But what I can say is, from the bit I've seen, I did research a little bit into the movies, the characters, the lore. It just seems very accurate, and it just seems like it really respects the world of Killer Klowns from Outer Space while making it a really cool multiplayer experience. Again, just like Friday the 13th. If you like that game, you'll definitely like this one. And I really do like the vibe of this one because, yes, clowns are scary. Clowns are very, very scary. But I don't know, it's just kind of got Friday the 13th is a little bit more of a real, nail-bitery, scary vibe. And not saying that this game isn't scary, but it's got a little bit more of that goofy, silly kind of scary energy that honestly can sometimes even be more scary. So yeah, that's the list of horror games that I looked into and got to try out at PAX East. It was a really fun time. I really enjoyed myself, and all of these games I personally think are very interesting. Like I said, if I had to choose a favorite that I played, it would have to be Into the Dead Our Darkest Days. It was definitely the standout for me just because of the fact that it took what this War of Mine did and it feels more refined and it just feels really good to play. And hopefully you guys get to experience all of these great games yourself very, very soon. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff down below. Hit that notification bell so you're notified of when I upload videos. And of course, check out the merch store. There's some cool ZakPak merch up on there for you to check out. And until next time, you guys, I'll see you all in the next video.